28th, 2026 meeting of the MCCSC Board of School Trustees. We ask that you please come to order. We will begin tonight with public comment. Thank you to all who signed up and acknowledged the guidelines to speak to the board tonight. Given the nature of, I know, a lot of the public comments for tonight, I want to highlight one of the guidelines in particular. One of the things that everybody agreed to is a bullet that says, please know there is no commenting on personnel issues. It's not my rule, but I do have to enforce it. So please note that that rule has always been interpreted to mean that we don't name names in public comment, even to praise someone. So if you had planned tonight to give accolades to a specific teacher, please make that a non-specific, not to identify any teacher individually. I don't want to have to stop anybody, but I do have to interrupt you if you name names. So let's make it easier for everybody by avoiding that, please. With that said, our first public commenter tonight is Ron Richmond. Please come to the podium, Mr. Richmond.
I have copies of my statement. Can I? Yes, sir.
If you don't mind giving them to Karen, please.
Thank you, Superintendent and board members, for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Ron Richmond. I'm the Executive Director of ASME Council 962, Indiana, Kentucky, and I'm here advocating for the members of ASME Local 3995, the classified staff in the school district. This has come about as a meeting Friday where our president, who's home recovering from surgery, was notified that the board has intentions to change our bargaining status, to change us from a full range of bargaining to just doing wages and wage-related benefits like the teachers have. Our message is that is not necessary. It has not been necessary since the teachers' rule was changed in 2011, and it still isn't necessary to make that change for the classified staff today. We all want strong public schools. Every student deserves safe schools, reliable transportation, clean classrooms, and nutritious meals. Those things happen because the dedicated classroom employees show up every day and serve the community. The problem that we have is the resolution being presented tonight reduces the workers' voice instead of strengthening the partnership that we have with the district. This is a partnership that has existed nearly 50 years with successfully bargained contracts, with partnerships on referendums and various things that show that the partnership is working. But the reality is collective bargaining is not about the conflict that people often suggest that it is. It's about creating a structured process for workers and management to solve problems together. Partnership works. The other thing to keep in mind is even if it is couched in terms of legislative action taken towards teachers, the reality is this is still a local choice. This is not a legislative certainty. The questions that I have basically to make you guys aware of, to ask yourselves, is what specific problem does this resolution intend to solve? How will limiting bargaining rights improve the outcomes for students? Why does reducing opportunities for workers and management to solve problems together sound like a good thing? Is that my time up?
It's 30 seconds.
30 seconds. So in closing, we all want Monroe County schools to succeed. That means respecting every employee who makes our schools work every day. Instead of limiting the voices of workers, let's strengthen the partnership, and we urge the district and the board to reject Resolution 2607 and continue supporting the meaningful collective bargaining for classroom employees, because this resolution does nothing to improve the product of teaching.
Thank you. And so in my excitement to point out that specific bullet, I forgot to point out the rule we usually remind everyone of, which is that Mrs. Butcher will ring the bell once to signal that you have 30 seconds for your comment and 5 bells to tell you that your time has concluded. So we worked that out together this first time, but that will be the rule going forward. Our next public commenter is Namora Cloud.
Hi, thank you for taking the time to listen to what I have to say about multi-age not being as much as it was in previous years. Multi-age has brought me so much in my education and in my social skills. It let me be friends with much older students and much younger students, and that has helped me a lot as I have gotten older. I am now going into middle school, and I know people who are in middle school, and they have been able to show me around and told me like what is expected of me, and I feel like that will make me a better student in the future. And I've seen how the younger students have just been doing so much better than in the not the straight grade classes, not because of any fault or additional thing of that the teachers did, but because they looked up to the older students, and the older students have usually behave themselves better when they are around younger people that they know, because they don't want the kid to think that that's what you do. You are really loud in the hallways, or you don't like line up when they ask. They want the kid to think well of them, and they want the kids' teachers and parents and everyone to think well of the kid. And they want the teachers and parents and guardians to think well of them for being a good role model. My time is not up yet, but that's all I had to say. So,
Thank you. Next, we have Therian Cloud. Forgive me if I pronounce that name wrong.
Thank you for your time and listening to me. What I want to talk about is multi-age in Templeton. My name is Therian, and I'm going into 5th grade at Templeton Elementary. Until now, I have been with my older sibling in multi-age. When we were really doing multi-age, I got to go into the older classroom and do their level of schoolwork, but that didn't happen this year because the times didn't overlap for math. When I was with the older kids, it not only helped me do higher level math, but it also helped me build up my confidence to talk to other people in my classroom. I recommend that you bring back full multi-age for the next school year and for all of the upcoming school years. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Next, we have Frank Cloud.
Okay, I will try to make this short. My name is Frank. I have two children who went through the multi-age program at Templeton Elementary, and I just think that at a time when the school board has really been working on issues related to school equity, that it would be tragic to let this program lapse in the way that it has been for the past year, because the multi-age program is one of the defining characteristics of Templeton Elementary School, and so it causes a lot of higher socioeconomic status families to want to be involved in that school. I know several families that had many choices between private schools or things like Montessori or St. Charles or the Alps program that chose to remain in that school for the benefit of the multi-age program, which helps both their children because I think that program is great, and it helps other children because they have access to classmates with more resources and things. And so it is an extremely low cost way to address some of those equity issues, especially given that at that elementary school, the multi-age program was one of the only ways for students to have access to advanced math classes that are offered at elementary schools like Childs. And students who don't have access to advanced math in elementary school end up farther behind in math throughout their high school years and can be excluded from a lot of higher level, upper level high school math and science classes, which is a really big equity problem that is compounded from those choices we make at the elementary school level. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Debbie Fish.
Good evening. Thanks for having us all here. My name is Debbie Fish, and I'm here as a retired educator and community member. In the mid-90s, I'm going back, the Indiana Department of Education created restructuring grants for schools to have the time and money to not just reform schools, but to look deeply at their practices and make systemic changes that would enhance teaching and learning. A little school down the road, Gosport Elementary School, was awarded one of those grants. And their principal at the time led them through 2 years of reflection and planning. They began with answering the question, what do we know about how kids learn? It took hours, weeks, and months. And at the end of that deep exploration, they realized the answer was not to purchase an expensive program, but to further explore the educational philosophy of multi-age. Once implemented, their successful approach attracted the attention statewide and nationally. They won a national award, not statewide. I was the principal of that school for 3 years and managed not to mess it up. I learned that while it took creativity and extra work to figure it all out, it was so worth it. Some think that multi-age is a split classroom and maybe don't fathom the underlying philosophy and powerful practices that empower the mentoring community for both teachers and students, as they talked about. So education today is mostly the factory model, meaning you put kids through the assembly line of K through 12 with time being the constant and learning being the variable. So it's like all kids in 4th grade should be able to learn this in 180 days. But multi-age seeks to change that, where learning is the constant and time is the variable. They flip it. We all know that humans learn at different rates and in very different ways. And yet, sometimes we pretend we don't know that in traditional schooling. For example, in a 4th to 6th multi-age classrooms, students are given a little more time and space to master concepts. There's more flexibility in groupings that provide critical scaffolding of concepts. And yes, we still have to deal with I read and I learn and all of that. But within the school day, the school year, teachers can teach to a student's unique readiness levels so they are able to make progress. But the biggest asset of multi-age strand K through 6 is the community of learners that is nurtured. You might say that was then, this is now. Well, now, the fractured society we live in does little to nurture families and children. So this type of schooling is needed more than ever. Please don't let administrative expediency rule. Let's be a community that supports learners in multi-age classrooms.
Thank you. Next, we have Sarah Copper.
Hello, my name is Sarah Copper, and I came here to speak on 2 topics tonight, the multi-age program at Templeton and redistricting. First, I'll speak to multi-age. What an amazing program. This coming school year will be the 10th and final year that our family has a child in multi-age. The multi-age community is more than 3 split grade classrooms in a hallway together. The way the teachers are able to create a cohesive community across kindergarten through 6th grade is truly something special. I know that there are talented educators all throughout the district that create a sense of community within their classrooms. I would never try and question that. But part of what makes multi-age unique is its ability to build on that community and create continuity across all 7 years of elementary school. Students grow in leadership from being the student mentored by older students to becoming the mentor. Kids leave the program kinder, more empathetic, and with a wealth of skills in how to be part of a diverse group of learners. My hope in speaking to you tonight is that the program will get the administrative support it needs to be fully implemented so MCCSC students can continue to benefit for years to come. I also came here to speak in support of redistricting. I understand that I thought it was a topic for tonight, but might actually be a topic for next month, but I just want to reiterate my support for that endeavor and to thank you for your leadership, and that I hope that we are continuing to move that forward and keep the momentum going. It's so important that our district is not divided by socioeconomic status and that we have equitable opportunities for our students across all schools. So thank you for the work you've already done, and I just want to say how much I support that work moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Addison Pemberton.
Hello, my name is Addie. I will be talking about why we should keep multi-age. One, multi-age helps us with stronger friendships with younger and older ages and grades. Also, older kids can model younger kids' behavior better than adults can. Multi-age also helps stronger connections with teachers and classmates. Without multi-age, it'd be hard for younger and older kids to get those skills. Normal classes don't give that impact as easily as multi-age classes. I was in normal classes when I was younger. Recess was way different when I was in first grade. The first graders were split up into different parts of the courtyard. We couldn't talk to our friends during class recess. That's how multi-age is starting to feel like. But with our help, we could fix these problems as a team. A lot of multi-age strands really like invitations. Invitations even taught us life skills without us even knowing. Some taught us how to run our own business, some taught us how to be successful builders, and also a bunch more useful skills in life. Those are some ways multi-age helps us learn and grow. Thank you, and have a great night.
Thank you. And finally, we have Alan Pemberton.
Hello, my name's Alan Pemberton, and first I'd like to thank the MCCSC board for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'd imagine you're wondering why so many people showed up to a school board meeting. At least I would be if I were sitting in your seats. And that's because I've never attended or spoken to the school board like this before. I'd like to thank the entire school system for having the wisdom to develop the program that I'm speaking about tonight. I can describe it as the best kept secret. This shouldn't be a secret. I'm referring to the multi-age program at Templeton Elementary. You'll hear from a variety of people of all ages and experiences that came with me tonight, with a common theme of sharing what an amazing experience multi-age has been for not only their education, but in their lives and the lives of youth and families across our community. My hope is that multi-age will not be a secret anymore. Why do I call it a secret? I don't know how familiar you are with the program, but as a parent, when I first discovered multi-age, I felt frustrated. That was because there had been this amazing program that teaches not only terrific education, but also life skills paired with an amazing education that produces benefits so impactful for reasons I'll only begin to describe this evening. But my child didn't have access to that program because it was like I didn't know the secret handshake or the password to get her in and have that opportunity. My first experience as a parent with the concept of multi-age was when, by good fortune, my daughter joined an open Girl Scout troop that happened to be multi-age. You've heard from a variety of those amazing group of girls here tonight, including my daughter, who's also amazing, although I'm admittedly biased on that point. Her goal in multi-age was to make new friends and have fun, of course. But as a parent, the light bulb went off for me almost immediately. I started seeing the benefits I hadn't expected, like positive peer mentorship, peer teaching, and learning from each other given the range of experiences of a great group of kids with diverse backgrounds and ages. She achieved her goal of fun and new friends, but I discovered from fellow parents in her troop that there was a formal multi-age program that actually existed at Templeton and that many of these wonderful kids were already enrolled. I felt like I had finally learned the secret handshake and now my child was going to get that opportunity too. So I again want to thank you for that opportunity. Uh, obviously, these amazing future community leaders have gone through a list of benefits the program has. They've shared their opinions and experiences, and you can see the results in action. I leave you with this. You have an amazing program here powered by some of the most talented teachers ever. I'm sure multi-age is not a good fit for everyone, but it shouldn't be a secret because it's been wonderful in my experience. Thank you.
Thank you. We want to thank everyone for their comments tonight. I would say especially the students. It's always a treat to hear from students. I would echo Mr. Pemberton's comment about all of the speakers being amazing. You all did such a good job. So well done. We were so pleased to hear from you. Um, and with that, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Also, if you came for public comment and you're not particularly interested in the other items on the agenda, we won't be offended if you take this opportunity to go. If you want to stay, of course, you're welcome to. So now for our consideration is the consent agenda. That includes the following: the memorandum from the executive session held on June 22nd and the minutes from the board meeting held on June 23rd, 2026, ECA financial report, June 2026, financial report, June 2026, appropriation balance report, June 2026, register of claims, July 28th, 2026, payroll register and payroll claims, June 2026, and the MCCSC Employee Handbook, and the request to declare as surplus and authorize disposal of out-of-date items. Do I have a motion regarding approval of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second? It's been moved by Ross and seconded by April that we approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda signify by saying aye. Aye. Any against? Abstentions? The motion carries. Next for our consideration are the donations. We have received donations of $570. Thank you to all our donors. Your generosity is appreciated. Do I have a motion to accept the donations?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Ross and seconded by Asia that we accept the donations. All those in favor of approving the donations signify by saying aye. Aye. Any against? Abstentions? The motion carries. Next is new business. So we begin with the consideration of the personnel report. Do I have a motion to approve the personnel report as presented?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Ross and seconded by Ashley that we approve the personnel report as presented. Dr. Henderson?
Thank you, President Cooperman, Dr. Winston, and members of the Board of School Trustees. This evening, I would like to call your attention to the following administrative appointments, changes of status, and retirements. The following administrator appointments are presented in the personnel report this evening. Matthew Britton, Administrator and Assistant Athletic Director for Bloomington High School North. Matthew joins MCCSC with 24 years of teaching experience and holds a master's degree in education from Eastern Illinois University. He will serve as Assistant Athletic Director, Physical Education Teacher, and Head Men's Basketball Coach. Tyler Kelp, Administrator, Assistant Principal, Summit Elementary School. Tyler joins MCCSC after serving as a Special Education Resource Teacher and Department Chair at Clark Pleasant Community Schools. He holds a master's degree in Urban Educational Leadership and Policy from Indiana University. Kimberly Osborne, Assistant Principal, Fairview Elementary School. Kimberly joins MCCSC after serving as an assistant principal for 8 years at the Metropolitan School District of Lawrence Township. She holds a master's degree in administration from Ball State University. Sally Spice, assistant principal, Benford Elementary School. Sally continues with MCCSC after serving the corporation as an English as a new language teacher. She also served as a general education elementary teacher prior to that. Sally holds a master's degree in curriculum and instruction from Purdue University. We have a few administrator changes of status to announce to you this evening to draw your attention to in the personnel report. Tyler Abel will be moving from principal at Summit Elementary School to assistant principal at Tri-North Middle School. Dr. Tim Dowling, our Director of Early Learning and Enrollment, is also going to be serving as the interim principal at Marlin Elementary School in addition to his other responsibilities. Stephen Marshall moves from principal at Childs Elementary School to principal at Summit Elementary School. Aaron Ritter moves from principal at Marlin Elementary School to principal at Childs Elementary School. In addition to that, I'd like to draw the board's attention to 2 certified staff retirements. Mr. James Callahan. Mr. Callahan retires after 29 years of dedicated service to MCCSC, having served as a fine arts teacher at Bloomington High School North. In addition to that, Harold Green. Mr. Green retires after nearly 26 years of dedicated service to MCCSC, having served as a social studies teacher at Bloomington High School North most recently. Altogether, the retirees presented this evening represent a combined total of 55 years of service to our school community. And on behalf of MCCSC, I would like to extend a special thank you to these individuals for their many years of dedicated service and wish them well in their next adventures. At this time, I would request that you please approve the recommendations as presented in your board packet in the personnel report.
Thank you, Dr. Henderson. Are there any comments from the board? I always want to congratulate those who retired, and I would also say thank you to everyone who has shifted around, taken on new responsibilities in service of the corporation, especially Dr. Dowling. Thank you for jumping in to serve in this regard. Any other comments from the board? All those in favor of approving the personnel report signify by saying aye. Aye. Any against? Abstentions? Motion carries. Dr. Henderson, do you want to invite anyone to the podium tonight?
Yes, thank you, President Cooperman. At this time, before we move on to the next agenda item, I'd like to invite 3 individuals up to the podium this evening to address the board. We'll start this evening with Matthew Britton, Assistant Athletic Director, PE teacher, and new head basketball coach at Bloomington High School North. Mr. Britton.
Thank you, Dr. Henderson. It's an honor to be here. I'm excited to be joining the North Cougar family, serving our students when they arrive on August the 5th. I would like to thank our Board of Education, Dr. Winston, Dr. Henderson, Ms. Harmon, North Principal Matt Stark, and Athletic Director Andy Hodson. Everyone has been great and made our family feel very welcome. Looking forward to get started. This will be my 25th year in education, 23rd year coaching, and I can truly say I'm just as excited about the start of this school year as I was year 1. So ready to serve our students the best of my ability and get started, and excited to be a part of the North Cougar family. So thank you all again very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Britton. Next, I'd like to invite up Stephen Marshall, new principal at Summit Elementary School. Mr. Marshall.
Good evening. Thank you, Dr. Winston, and President Cooper, and members of the board. I'm extremely excited to have the opportunity to lead at Summit. I've been lucky enough to have the last couple of days in the building, and everyone's just been extremely welcoming and kind and supportive, and I know we're going to have a great year. And I'd be remiss to not express my gratitude to the families, the students, the teachers, the faculty and staff at Childs. I had a really great 14-year run there. But right now, my mindset is just to continue making Summit the great school that it is, and we're looking forward to welcoming all of our students on August 5th. So thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marshall. Finally, I'd like to invite Aaron Ritter, principal at Childs Elementary School, up to the podium. Mr. Ritter?
Thank you. Good evening, board. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Winston, Dr. Henderson. It's just extremely honored to be principal at Childs Elementary. Looking forward to getting started. I'll echo similar thoughts. I appreciate the kindness and welcoming that I've received at Childs, and looking forward to welcoming in students and meeting even more of the staff in person. And I would also like to thank my previous MCCSC homes, Marlin, where I was principal for the last 5 years, and prior to that, Tri-North, where I was assistant principal for 3 years. Again, just can't wait to get started, seeing students and families, and continuing forward the great work already taking place at Childs. Thank you.
Thank you. So welcome to new faces, and thanks again to those who have taken on new responsibilities, and welcome to those communities. Thank you. Other comments from the board? All right, then we will move on to contracts. Do I have a motion to approve the contracts and quotes as presented?
So moved.
Do I have a second? It's been moved by Ross and seconded by Asia that we approve the contracts and quotes as presented. Mr. Irwin?
Yeah, thank you. All contracts have gone through our normal process and they're set for your approval. I do want to highlight the agreements that continue the expanded arts programming at Fairview and just the multitude of ways that that referendum funding is supporting student experiences that families value. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Irwin. Are there comments from the board? I just want to explain my vote for a minute. I'm going to abstain from this vote because there are actually several of these contracts that benefit my children's school and my family directly. So I'm going to abstain from this vote. I just wanted to explain that before we take it. So all those in favor of approving the contracts and quotes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Abstentions? That's one, that's me. Still, the motion carries. Next for our consideration are the meal prices for 2026-2027 school year. Do I have a motion to approve the meal prices for 2026-2027 as presented?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Ashley and seconded by April that we approve the meal prices for 2026-2027 as presented. Dr. Henderson?
Thank you, President Cooperman, Dr. Winston, members of the Board of School Trustees. As you're all familiar, federal regulations govern the pricing of all meals and snacks in the USDA child nutrition programs. And the paid lunch equity tool that's issued by the Indiana Department of Education is what's utilized to determine the need for price increases to secondary lunches. The price increases this year impact middle school lunch and high school lunch with an increase to each of 20 cents per lunch price. I want to highlight that we're pleased to continue offering free breakfast and lunch to all students at the following schools through the Community Eligibility Provision program. That's Arlington, Bloomington Graduation School, Clear Creek, Fairview, Grandview, Highland Park, and Templeton. With that, we'd like to ask that the board vote to approve the meal price changes as presented.
Thank you, Dr. Henderson. Are there any comments from the board?
I mean, no one ever likes raising lunch prices. We know that it's something that has to happen occasionally. I do appreciate that we've tried to keep, the impact in places where perhaps it might be easier to sort of manage. But I also want to remind people who are out there listening, all like 4 of you, not including who are in the room, but a lot of you are here because you have a vested interest in what's happening tonight. But that donations to like lunch funds can be made, and so I do just want to continually sort of remind people that that exists, and if that's something that you feel like you want to do or can do, that we encourage you to do that, especially as we see this like small bump in lunch prices.
I think that's a great point, April. There's a lot happening at the national level too that's going to make lunches less accessible for a lot of our students, and so I think it's a good time to remind people that we have that opportunity to provide lunches for our students. Thank you. Any other comments from the board? All those in favor of approving the meal prices for 2026-2027, as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Next for our consideration is the clear title to real estate. Do I have a motion to approve the clear title to real estate as presented?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Ross and seconded by Ashley that we approve the clear title to real estate as presented. Attorney Bunger.
Yes, Dr. Winston, President Cooper, and members of the board. This involves a parcel, a 1/2 acre parcel in Benton Township. This particular parcel was identified in 1913 as a school property. And eventually, adjacent property owners have accepted it out of the chain of title as schoolhouse. In the consolidation of the Monroe County Community School Corporation, all township properties became properties under the ownership of the MCCSC. This particular property is identified as schoolhouse, has no ownership to it. It actually belongs to the MCCSC. In order to clear that title, we need the authority, and what we're asking is a resolution authorizing us to file a lawsuit setting out exactly what this property is. It's historically been set aside as a schoolhouse property, and we would plead the consolidation, which says it's property of the MCCSC, which would result in an order saying we own this 1/4 acre property that's on, I'm trying to think the road, it's on North Tunnel Road. There's nothing on it, it's just an unimproved 1/2 acre of ground.
Thank you, Mr. Bunger. Are there questions or comments from the board?
What do we need to do next?
You approve the resolution, this authorizes us to file a lawsuit on behalf of the school corporation to claim the property, clear the title.
So it looks like we
just need to vote.
well, is there a resolution?
I don't see a resolution.
Because I actually don't see a resolution attached to this.
A motion, a plain motion authorizing us to file suit to clear title of the property on North Tunnel Road will work.
Yeah, so the motion was to approve the clear title to real estate as presented, which will authorize Mr. Bunger
Okay.
to file the necessary paperwork.
So we
Exactly.
don't need a formal resolution?
No, we don't need a formal resolution.
Okay,
No.
okay, great.
All those in favor of the motion to approve the clear title to real estate?
We did it in the beginning.
Oh,
Before
did we?
Mr.
Okay.
Bunger started
Sorry.
speaking. That's all right. It's a rough day for me too. Okay. All those in favor of the motion to approve the clear title to real estate as presented signify by saying aye. Aye. Against? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
We'll proceed, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bunger. Our final item for consideration is Resolution 2026-07, recognizing the collective bargaining rights for certain classified operations employees. Do I have a motion to adopt Resolution 2026-07?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Ross and seconded by Ashley that we adopt Resolution 2026-07. Dr. Henderson?
Thank you, President Cooperman, Dr. Winston, members of the Board of School Trustees. Resolution 2026-07, recognizing collective bargaining rights for certain classified operations employees. I recommend that the board adopt this resolution, which approves the following. The collective bargaining rights of classified operations employees shall be coterminous with teachers under Indiana Code Chapter 20-29, but shall not be subject to the Indiana Education Employment Relations Board jurisdiction or such related processes. Policy 8910 is replaced with Policy 8910 attached as Exhibit A and incorporated by reference herein. This resolution and amended Policy 8910, upon adoption following second reading of the policy, supersedes all prior resolutions or policies regarding or related to bargaining rights of employees. This resolution and Policy 8910 will be effective upon adoption of the policy following the second reading by the board. However, with regards to the current collective bargaining agreement with the exclusive representative of the classified operations employees, this resolution and Policy 8910 will be effective upon expiration of such collective bargaining agreement. I so recommend.
Thank you, Dr. Henderson. Are there comments or questions from the board?
Yes. Okay, so we have a resolution, but then we also have the policy for which we need a first and second reading.
Tonight will be the first reading, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah.
But the resolution resolves to do this thing. And so then it would thus be resolved tonight, even though we have to have a first and second reading of the policy. I think that's a little confusing to me.
So as I understand it, the resolution is to put forward the new language for the policy. It doesn't bind us to vote yes or no for those changes to the policy. Mr. Bunger, is there anything you can add to that? Okay.
Okay, so this will be effective upon adoption of the policy following the second reading by the board. Can I ask why we would have a resolution ahead of a policy reading? I guess I don't think that we typically, or it's not always done that way. And so I'm curious, like, why the resolution before the policy? Why not just the policy change?
If I may, I think that the policy just speaks to the fact that we continue, although there are no requirements or obligations for us to engage in bargaining, it just speaks to the fact that we have a continued and ongoing commitment to continue to support our bargaining groups and ensuring the rights of them are upheld. And so this resolution asserts that, and it doesn't take a position one way or the other in terms of the importance or the significance of those rights.
It's not without precedent. We've certainly passed resolutions to either write policies or change policies, and then the language has been brought to us. I think maybe what's a little bit unusual here is that we're getting them both at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's what, for me, it throws me off. Typically, we don't see them both in the same meeting, like at the same time. And so that, I think, was just, it was maybe just a little confusing for me.
Sure.
Yeah.
I understand that.
I do want to say, and I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna say something, and then we'll proceed as however we proceed, right? I am pretty staunchly and strongly pro-union. I actually do believe in, sort of empowering people to bargain wherever there is space and room to do so. And I do also know that the teachers' bargaining has been sort of truncated. Their rights have been stripped, truncated in many ways as a result of the legislature of the state. And so those things were somewhat out of our control. And I do understand the impulse or desire then to kind of in the sort of effort toward what would we, I guess, fairness or equitable policies and processes to sort of align what can be bargained for. I will just say that from my perspective at this moment, I don't know that I fully agree with the desire or the decision to remove bargaining rights that are available to people as there are no laws sort of like stripping or governing what can or cannot be bargained. I'll also admit that it probably does make bargaining more complicated. And when you have more to bargain for, the process can take longer. Maybe resolutions are not reached as sort of efficiently or in a timely manner. So I am not totally sure how I feel about this. I just, I know it's here. I know we have to vote on the resolution. If the resolution isn't binding until after the second reading, then I'm more inclined to say yes to the resolution and work through the first and second reading of the policy. But I don't know. There's a chance that I may find myself on a kind of opposing side of this particular perspective. I guess I just want to ask a question. I don't know if you even have an answer, and if not, that's okay. But I wonder, has any of this in the rewriting or the sort of, has MCEA had any input or perspective on this?
This policy, this resolution does not impact MCA in one way or any other way.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay.
So I think the answer to that is probably no. Yeah. Other questions or comments?
So I will, and this is kind of a question to maybe direct and maybe give it April, board member MSC, a level of comfort. If this resolution passes tonight,
Mm-hmm.
and upon the second reading of the policy next board meeting, that is voted down,
Mm-hmm.
the resolution basically goes away.
Right.
Is that the
That's my
correct
understanding.
Okay. I wanted to put that out there for your level of comfort.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's what I understand at this point too, having read that language.
I would say that I share some of your concerns, and certainly I share your support for unions in general. I think the one of the most important factors to me is that it does align the collective bargaining rights of our teachers and our other staff. That feels equitable to me, and I think that as you noted, without those two things being aligned, there are extra complications and extra time in bargaining with one union over the other union, and for those reasons, and I'm not going to commit to voting yes or no for the policy at the next meeting, but I'm probably leaning towards voting in favor of the policy change to bring those two things into alignment myself. Other comments before I call the vote? All those in favor of adopting Resolution 2026-07, recognizing collective bargaining rights for certain classified operations employees, signify by saying aye. Aye. Against?
Against? Nay. or
Say
no?
no. Yeah.
And I may very well be swayed by the end of this process.
Fair enough. Any abstentions? Okay, so that's 1 against, 1 abstention, and 3 in favor. Motion carries. That math I can do sometimes. Next is the first reading of the policy mentioned in Resolution 2026-07, Policy 8910, Appropriate Bargaining Units of Employees. Dr. Henderson?
Thank you, President Cooperman, Dr. Winston, members of the Board of School Trustees. Policy 8910, appropriate bargaining units of employees. Revisions have been made to incorporate changes in the law over the past few years and aligning the bargaining rights of all bargaining units within MCCSC so that classified staff rights are in alignment with teacher rights. The policy will be presented for second and final reading at the August 25th meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Henderson. Any comments from the board? As this is the first reading, no action is required. As mentioned, this will be brought back to the board for the second and final reading in August. Next on our agenda are district updates. Tonight, Dr. Winston will introduce the first presentation, Sustaining Excellence in MCCSC for the 2026-2027 school year.
Thank you, President Cooperman. We are very excited about opening our new school year in just a few days. And as you know, one of the things that we continue to build upon is the tradition of academic excellence, artistic excellence, athletic excellence in MCCSC schools. This evening, we really want to share with you a few highlights of what's new for 26-27 and how we're going to continue to keep the main thing, which is academic excellence as we continue to stay the course. So I'd like to invite Alexis Harmon to provide a brief overview of some key priorities and key considerations for how we are maintaining academic excellence.
Thank you, President Cooperman, Dr. Winston, and members of the board. As Dr. Winston already said, I want to walk you through our plan for sustaining excellence in the 26-27 school year. This is work we've built together over the last several years and where that work is taking us next. I want to start with excellence in instruction because everything else we do as a corporation rests on what happens in the classroom every day. You have seen this slide before. Just want to kind of, again, keep a focus on we're really thinking about we're one team, we're one plan, we're one model. We want to align the work that we do so that we can align the supports we do as well. To start, I'd like to introduce our MCCSC instructional model. I want to be clear, this isn't a new initiative. It's a way of naming and organizing the work that many of you have already seen taking shape in our school over the past several years. What this model gives us is clarity, a shared definition of great instruction, a common language, a set of expectations that holds true in every MCCSC school. It also gives us a consistent way to monitor our progress for collecting and reflecting on data so we can honestly assess how we're doing and hold ourselves accountable to that as well. At its core, the model exists for one reason, to make sure every student in every classroom in every one of our schools receives high-quality, standards-aligned instruction from a certified teacher. We believe instructional quality and protected instructional time are two of the most powerful levers we have for improving outcomes for kids. Within this model is the way it is designed to, we should see stronger literacy and numeracy foundations across every subject, growth for every group of students, narrowing of achievement gaps, and schools where kids feel a genuine sense of connection, and belonging. This slide lays out our theory of action, so how we believe the pieces of this work connect each role in our corporation, and the conditions we create, the practices we expect to see, and the outcomes we're working toward for students. The model rests on 5 core components: what we should expect to see and actively foster in every MCCSC classroom, which is guaranteed and viable core instruction. Number 2, small group differentiation and individualized instruction. 3, database decision making. 4, strong collaboration among educators. And 5, of course, a welcoming and inclusive learning environment. And they are not prioritized in area, they are equally important, all of them. Each of these carries 2 sets of expectations, one for our teachers and their day-to-day work, and we call those our teaching and learning expectations, and one for corporation and building leaderships and the instructional leadership they provide. With that foundation in place, I'd like to turn to programming. While the state and federal government may make changes in funding and support for programs, MCCSC continues to invest and commit in core areas that reflect the values in our community. And I'd like to highlight some specific investments that will define this coming school year. Our programming work this year is organized around our 6 priority areas: early literacy and numeracy, the arts, academic alignment to college and career opportunities, student mental and behavioral health, and support for students with diverse learning needs, as well as Accelerate 7. I'll walk through each, why it matters, and what's new. Of course, early literacy and numeracy. We know reading well by 3rd grade changes the trajectory of a child's education. Strong readers succeed across every subject, not just English. The same holds true in math. Early number sense predicts long-term success, and the gains kids make early tend to stick. This year, we've adopted a new K-8 English Language Arts curriculum. We are entering year 2 of our K-8 math curriculum, and we've introduced new progress monitoring in reading and math K-8, so teachers can quickly identify where each student needs support and respond in real time. We're also reducing screen time in favor of more direct, teacher-led instruction, and we're giving teachers additional collaboration and instructional preparation time, particularly at the elementary level. We'll be increasing our instructional prep time minimum requirement from 200 to 225, and we also are rolling out an initiative for an increased collaborative time for grade level teams and special area teams throughout the school year. So they'll have more opportunities to plan, review student data together, and refine their teaching as a team.
The arts. The arts remain a vital part of a well-rounded MCCSC education. Students with strong arts participation are more likely to graduate and enroll in college. Schools that intentionally integrate the arts see stronger student engagement and school climate, and music education in particular has been linked to gains in executive functioning. We're continuing our rich tradition of arts programming at every level, including band and strings at our elementary schools and continuing community partnerships like Lotus Blossom, along with field trips to the IU Musical Arts Center, Eskenazi Museum, our community partnerships with theater programs as well. For our academic alignment to career and college opportunities, real-world experience improves outcomes for students. It increases engagement and strengthens academic and career readiness. AP and dual credit coursework build college readiness, and dual enrollment is consistently linked to higher rates of college enrollment, persistence, and degree completion. This year, we're expanding the strategic resources we have for students to help them identify internships and work-based learning opportunities, as well as expanding our community partnerships to support those work-based learning opportunities and partnerships with our industry. Student mental and behavioral health. We know student well-being isn't separate from academic excellence. It's foundational to it. School-based mental health services improve access to support, and high-quality social emotional learning improves both behavior and achievement. Students in evidence-based SEL programs have shown gains equivalent to 11 percentile points in academic achievement. Belonging itself acts as a protective factor for our kids. This year, that means we're going to expand Community in Schools, which is a national organization we partner with to provide meaningful wraparound supports for students and families. And we're adding registered behavior therapists in our schools and deepening our already existing community health partnerships. I want to take a moment to talk about acceleration. This is a new system of work this year. It's a system of support we're calling Accelerate 7, focused, intentional commitment to move the needle where the need is greatest, grounded in our own student achievement data. Accelerate 7 is built around 7 commitments for every classroom every day. And those are daily principal instructional leadership with immediate feedback, evidence-based instructional strategies, accelerating literacy and numeracy skills, personalized learning plans for every student, innovative, agile scheduling that protects time for intervention, coaching cycles tied directly to student outcomes, and increased time for teacher collaboration and planning. It's guided by 3 goals: strengthening core reading and math instruction, delivering timely and data-driven intervention and enrichment, and developing our principals as strong instructional leaders. And by our core priorities of building literacy and numeracy foundations, closing achievement gaps, and supporting student mental and behavioral health. Ultimately, this work is rooted in the simple belief that students with the greatest need deserve our strongest systems, our most consistent support, and the greatest access to high-quality teaching. In programming, finally, I'd like to talk about supports for students with diverse learning needs. These are happening across every one of our schools, but in particular this year, we're focusing at the middle school level with 2 initiatives, including on-site professional development and support for co-teaching and collaborative instruction, and an innovative case manager model designed to strengthen how we coordinate and deliver support to those students. I'd also like to make a moment to talk about engagement and excellence in engagement, because excellence in instruction and programming only matters if our community is alongside us in this work. Last spring, we had our Strong Schools, Strong Community process reinforce something we already knew. Our community wants and deserves real engagement with its public schools. So this year, we're building on that with a few specific efforts. An ambassador program will bring community members into deeper understanding of how our schools operate. Our MCCSC Voices podcast will give the community direct insight into the work happening across the corporation and help build broader public understanding of our schools. Our CFO Corner will share clear, regular information about our finances, reinforcing transparency and fiscal stewardship. And this year, we'll also begin facilities master planning, which is engaging parents, students, staff, and community members in shaping the future of our buildings, so every student has access to 21st century spaces for learning, athletics, and the arts. And that's, my brief update. Thank you. There's just so much to share.
Thank you, Ms. Harmon. Are there comments from the board?
How are people selected for the ambassador program?
So So yes, we've been posting information and seeking, kind of doing like an all call. And so we've had a number of individuals reach out and submit an application. We also know that from our Strong Schools, Strong Community effort back in the spring, we were only able to accept a certain number of individuals at that particular point in time. So we wanted to be able to also reach back out to those folks who wanted to be a part of Strong Schools, Strong Community, to invite them to be a part of the ambassador program as well. So we're trying to consider a variety of ways of bringing all of those voices together. The program will kick off in September.
Nice. Love it.
Very excited.
Other questions or comments from the board?
I have one more question.
Sure.
Does a podcast have like a, I know these are funny questions, but does it have like a regular host or like how does that work?
Yes, it does. You're looking at her.
Hello, podcast host.
That
Well,
would be
excellent.
me, yes.
All right, cool.
So we'll have our first podcast of School Voices that we'll release next week.
Can't wait.
And we will have opportunities for board members to also be invited guests. I can't wait for that.
Maybe you should.
I have a question also about community engagement. My question is about the CFO corner. Is that going to be a part of the podcast, or is that a separate thing?
I think a little bit of yes of both. I think there'll be some times where I'll get to be a guest on the podcast, and then there'll be a regular occurrence of communication through me as it relates to just education on school finance and timely topics that relate to things that are going on around the school corporation.
But they didn't like put you in a corner.
I hopefully will not be in a corner. I have an office that is a cube, so it's not a corner. I feel good about that.
Okay, well that's good to hear.
Great questions. We're so excited about providing additional avenues for members of our community to learn more about our schools and to learn more about the people making decisions and teaching our children and supporting our children. That's an exciting opportunity as well to really humanize our educators so that folks get a better understanding of what brings us to the table to take on this kind of work and the passion that comes with it, and an opportunity to showcase all of the amazing things that happen in every one of our classrooms and every one of our schools each and every day. So a lot of excitement. We're open to hear some of your thoughts and suggestions and ideas as well. And I certainly want to give kudos, a well-deserved kudos, to Sarah DeWeese for the work that she's doing in helping us to design all of these avenues to communicate more effectively and more clearly.
I know this was just the beginning, but I think there were a lot of exciting things that Ms. Harmon presented, including the Accelerate 7, which I'm excited to learn more about. It feels like we're sort of in a place now where we are feeling more optimistic about our finances, and so have the flexibility to start focusing on what we're doing with the resources that we do have. And I think that's really going to be an exciting thing that's coming this year.
I would absolutely echo the focus and the emphasis on our academics and really sticking to the main thing, being that main thing, and acknowledging that there are still headwinds out there in the financial front. And I know that as we move forward, Matt Irwin is going to speak on some of those, but making sure that we are well prepared to respond from a position of strength.
Thank you. And this isn't the first CFO corner, but we are moving on to our financial update. So, Mr. Irwin, would you like to provide that?
Yeah, thank you. All right, we'll start where we normally start, just talking about the education fund, and I try to always give those a little bit of just some broad monthly specifics, and then talk about some outlooks and some things of that nature. So, from a monthly perspective, the actual revenue was above projections, expenses below projections, and in the world projections for me, that's pretty ideal. Tuition support. We started the new fiscal year, so July is the start of the new fiscal year 27. And with that, that means the new budget year for the state. So this is the second year of the state's budget. And so that starts that new funding formula piece. The state puts out what's called an IDOE Form 54, so it's the state's aids projections of revenue to be received. Mine projection that I had in our cash flows was within a couple $100 of the projection that they put out. So that's definitely very comforting in that world to make sure that those things are aligning and backing one another up. So that was something that I wanted to make note of. The other piece that I have in there in the outlook is that the NESP programming, as far as the expenditures of that programming, is getting pushed back into the education fund. The NESP programming for non-English speaking programming is part of the tuition support grant. So there's specialized grants within tuition support, and NESP is one of those. And so it makes sense to bring that back out of a special fund and track it within the fund of which the revenue is coming from the state on that anyway. So we push that back into the projections that you've seen. That was something that dates back to when it wasn't in the tuition support formula. So we're pulling that back in together. The outlook of the year end is pretty similar to what you've seen in the past month. And like I told you before, we're making great strides and progress and where we're at in the education fund and getting back to a position of health and a position of strength so that we can weather those uncertainties as they come. So we'll move to the 22 referendum. That one, we talked last month about the expectation for property tax revenue received from the county. That matched up to exactly what we expected it to be for the month of June, as you would expect. Our expenses were below projections, but across line items, again, very accurate, which means that the projection looks a little bit better than what you saw last month. And from a standpoint of the long-term outlook, it still looks the same as far as the expectations of the impacts of SEA 1. But I have that third bullet point down there because right now, as we continue to monitor what net assessed value is going to do, you guys know that we continue to partner with Policy Analytics to get regular updates as it relates to the expectations of what's going to occur with legislation and how that impacts our tax base. And so right now, there's some belief that the net assessed value won't drop as much as what they're projecting, which that again is obviously has a huge impact on our referendums and the revenue that they provide to support those initiatives. So that's something that we're continuing to monitor. And as we get closer to budget time, which we're about to start that process in the upcoming months, we'll be honing in on what it is that will actually be as those net assessed values get certified so that we're planning off of those through the budgeting process. But those are things that we're monitoring and watching. For the referendum 2023, again, revenue matched the expectations for June. June expenses below projections, again, accurate. That's what we want to see. The fund balance does project to be up for the year right now. And again, I've got those same pieces on there with bullet point 2 as it relates to continuing to monitor net assessed values and their impact on the revenue that the referendums generates. The third one is one that I want to continue to highlight because I don't want it to get lost in the shuffle. But you see a larger projection for partner providers in the upcoming school year. And that's because we're continuing to navigate a time where during the last budget cycle, the state reduced CCDF vouchers and On My Way pre-K funding, which was critical funding that allowed families to get reduced costs for early childhood to make it more accessible for families. Well, when that funding is reduced, that means more people need access to the referendum funds in order to be able to have affordable early childhood. Not to mention, as you look around the state, there's a lot of centers that have closed. There's a lot of schools that have cut their programming to early childhood. And because of the referendum, we're not in that situation. To kind of put some more numbers and specifics to this, because I thought this was interesting data for you guys to hear as we talk about and for people to understand just how important this has been to our parents and to our community, is that during the 24-25 school year, we collected just under $342,000 in CCDF funding. During last school year, it was less than $22,000. And On My Way pre-K funding during the 24-25 school year, that funding from the state, we received just over $452,000. Last year, we got less than $12,000. So that's just MCCSC. That's not what our partner providers have experienced and all the families in our community. So I say all that to say, this is very critical and important to our family. So it's just that continued to express that gratitude for that support, because we're in a position that other communities, quite frankly, aren't in as it relates to early childhood programming. So that's something that I wanted to make note of. In the operations fund, revenue was above projections. We did make that planned taxable general obligation fund transfer. That's that reimbursement of past capital expenditures that we've been talking about month after month after month. It finally occurred. And so you saw that in the register of claims for this board meeting as well. And then also in debt service, we made that transfer from debt service to operations, which was a part of that approved transfer in last month's board meeting. We made the first half of that transfer. We'll do the second half in December when that second half of property tax disbursement comes in, and that lines up with what you see in your cash flows. The payroll and benefits and miscellaneous expenses are very accurate. Our June services and supplies were below projections. And that had to do, again, a lot to do with the timing of invoices. I think that's one of the hardest part to nail down on projections, is that invoices don't always fall in the same month, depending on the timing of when they're received. And so that's part of the process, is continuing evaluating what's the difference between this year and last year, and what does that go back to, as well as one of the things that we needed to do was to make our child nutrition fund whole, which is a federally funded programming, that fund 0800. We had to pull that back into the positive. That was a requirement from the DOE. That ended up being less than what we had originally expected. And that has a lot to do with the work of our child nutrition staff and our director in child nutrition with Gretchen Hunter. She's doing a great job. And so I've appreciated her partnership in working through that as well. And the outlook piece for the operations fund, the fund balance is projecting up right now. I do have in there the 21st Century Grant closeout. Our 21st Century Grant is federally funded programming. I'm going to talk about this in a little bit in a couple of slides, but that grant has run out. Until recently, we didn't know whether that funding opportunity would even come back, because that's a competitive grant. But the home of the programming that's supported through 21st Century is extended day. It's adventure camp. That helps with the cost of those programming. The home of it is the operations fund. And so with that grant expiring, I've moved that back into the projections of the operations fund, and it's something that we'll continue to have to look at as we move forward into making sure that it's able to sustain those programming. We're not saying we're not taking away extended day, and we're continuing with adventure camp, so I don't want to cause any fear or worries there, but that 21st Century Grant right now is going away, and I'll talk about that here in a little bit. The debt service fund revenue matched expectations. Again, that Form 22 is just the local term for what you would expect from the county as it relates to the document that we get that says how much revenue to expect and where to deposit it. All of our debt payments were made on time. The outlook of the fund is almost identical to what you saw last month. And again, I talked about the second half of that approved transfer is set for December when the second disbursement comes. The last piece I'll talk about is some federal grants updates. I know just talking about headwinds, that graphic probably looks familiar to you from past presentations. And I thought it was fitting because it comes back into some of those things of the continually changing dynamics from which we work on and work through. But our Title I grant, we were notified that we were reduced by a little over $362,000 for this upcoming school year. We are using rollover dollars from previous year's grants to help fill that gap for this year. And that shores up our staffing levels for this year, but that's something that we're going to continue to have to monitor, and that we're at the whim of understanding what that's going to do. I can't predict what that's going to do in future years right now, but that's close to a 15% reduction in the grant allocation that we received from the previous year. That grant supports intervention staffing at our 7 Title I schools. But again, I wanted to make note of that. We're using those rollover dollars to keep staffing levels at a place where we know that we can continue to serve needs for this coming school year, but that's the short term, and so we'll continue to work through that as that comes forward. And then the second point is the 21st Century Grant. Again, that's federally funded grant that's passed through the IDOE. That's $300 or $300,000 annually that we receive. That is right now going away. We did just recently get notified from the DOE that they have opened up another cohort application. But again, that's a competitive grant that we're not guaranteed to that funding. So that is something that we will apply for, but it's not guaranteed. So we'll continue to keep you updated on where we're at with that. And again, that's why that programming costs and those things have to come back into the operations fund right now, because it's not guaranteed and we don't know whether or not we'll continue to get it, or even if we do get accepted, whether or not we continue to get the same level of funding. And then the last piece on there is just clarifying that that helps with expenses related to extended day and adventure camp as well. So just an update on some of those pieces that range from our 5 major funds, but again, talking about some of our federal grants and some of those headwinds that we talked about in the past, but those things come to fruition, and then we work through those as they come. Sometimes not always do you get the notice as quickly as what you want, but we're continuing to work through them nonetheless. So with that, that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Irwin. Are there questions or comments from the board?
I throw a lot at you every time, so I apologize, but
It's good. It's very comprehensive. I think as a result, we have no questions. So thank you, Mr. Irwin.
Means you made a good presentation.
That's right. Left no room for a question. So next we have committee reports. We don't have a specific committee report this month, but are there any board members that have reports that you would like to share?
I would just like to say that the newly formed policy committee has not yet met, but we do have an official date to meet. People have just been, it's summer, traveling, busy, whatever. So we will meet ahead of the August meeting. So we'll likely have at least something to report as having come of that meeting.
Great. Other reports? All right. Thank you, April. Next, we have superintendent comments. Dr. Winston, do you have any additional information you'd like to share with us tonight?
Just a couple of items. The start of the 26-27 school year is quickly approaching. I don't think there's anyone more excited in this community than our parents to be able to send their babies back to us. And I think we're probably a little bit more excited than they are, because we are so happy to have our children back in our schools and in our classrooms. Everyone will return on Wednesday, August the 5th, in terms of our students. Our teachers are back. In many ways, they often never leave, but they're officially back on Monday, August the 3rd. So we're really excited to have our teachers back in our classrooms, our support staff. Everyone is getting ready, and there's a lot of enthusiasm and excitement. And we talk a lot about everybody getting their new hairstyles done, their new school outfits for back to school, including folks in this room. To help our families prepare, we have our enrollment and resource information available on our website, and it's located under the Families tab. So I just want to provide a friendly reminder to our families. The information page provides details on educational programs for our learners of all ages from 6 weeks old, yes, I said 6 weeks old, all the way through adult education. You'll also find valuable information on extended day programs, transportation, My Payments Plus to pay for meals, free and reduced lunch applications, and many other additional helpful resources. Our team has been working diligently to ensure a smooth and welcoming start to the new school year. At MCCSC, as you know, we are committed to our promise to sustain excellence in all that we do. We are grateful to our families for the trust that they place in us to educate and care for their babies. We look forward to seeing our students back in our classrooms, learning, growing, and thriving. So mark your calendars. On Tuesday, August 4th, from 3 to 4 p.m., elementary schools will have Meet the Teacher. All MCCSC elementary schools will host a special time for students and families to visit the school and meet their teacher for the new school year. Additional information about school open houses is available on our website, and we've been communicating that over the last several weeks. On Saturday, August 29th, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., our parent university titled Preparing for High School and Beyond is one of our most popular annual events. Registration for the event will open in early August, so please join us for our very first Parent University mini conference of the new school year. I'm excited to begin the new school year with our students, with our staff, and with our families. And here's to an excellent school year ahead. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Winston. Any comments from the board? You can definitely count me amongst the parents who is very excited to send my babies back to you. I also find this a really exciting time of year. So I'm looking forward to new teacher orientation and the first days of school.
It's my favorite time of the year. It really is.
For lots of reasons. Any final comments from the board? All right, the next regularly scheduled board meeting will be held on Tuesday, August 25th, 2026. With that, we are adjourned.